winter storm is headed our way this morning. We have a cold weather advisory in effect, and this evening a winter weather advisory. I'll show you when the snow could start and how much you could see.
And winter weather preps. Duke Energy and the state DOT are working around the clock to ensure that you are safe during this Arctic blast. We have team coverage for you this morning.
Plus, moving swiftly, the series of executive orders President Trump ordered during his first day on the job and how they're going to affect you. We've got a breakdown of that and a lot of other things to get to this morning on WRAL News and Fox 50. Let's get started. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. He'd be a great coach.
I'm a motivator. That's what it is.
I see it in your future with your son. I love it. All right, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner standing by. We have to talk about this winter weather advisory. The coast really going to see a bulk of the snow.
And we could see 4 inches of snow along the coast. We won't see anything this heavy, that heavy here, unless something really crazy happens. This storm is going to move up the coast, and so that's where the heaviest precipitation will be. It will spread inland overnight tonight. And the question is how far inland. The models have started to pull it back a little farther to the west, meaning more snow for us, but it's still not a lot. This area west of the advisory could be around half an inch. Raleigh maybe up to an inch, and then say around Clinton maybe up to 2 inches. So the closer you are to the coast, the more snow we'll see. The coast may begin to see some snow by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Our eastern counties around 5 o'clock, and the rest of the viewing area between say 6 and 7. That snow starts to push on in. So keep that in mind. That timeline, you need to get off the roads as quick as you can between say 5 and 6 o'clock because it will get slick quickly. It moves on out of the triangle around midnight and out of the rest of the viewing area between say 2 and 3 a.m. Snowfall forecast is going to be closer to half an inch around Roxborough, maybe up to an inch in the triangle, and maybe up to 2 inches down around say Clinton or so. Cold weather advisory this morning too. It's cold out there. It feels like single digits to low teens. So again, two reasons that we have our weather alert day for today. Heading outside right now, 8 in Southern Pines. It feels like 11 in Roxborough, South Hill, Rocky Mount, and Durham. Our wind chill still feels like mid-20s to right around 30 at the warmest part of the day. So here's what we're tracking. The bitter cold this morning and again tomorrow morning, both days, a cold weather advisory. And then that potential for snow overnight tonight. Slick roads are likely. Parents, I would begin to think about what you may do if school is delayed or canceled tomorrow.
Right, at 8:02, Elizabeth, all new into the WRAL Traffic Center. We've got a crash that we're monitoring here in Orange County this morning. This is on Highway 70 near I-85 in those southbound lanes. But beyond the crash, we're seeing that huge slowdown in those eastbound lanes coming in on I-85 around Hillsborough this morning. You might want to keep that in mind and use an alternate route because as we pick up this camera at I-85 and Highway 70, we're not seeing the crash indicated on this camera, but that's not to say that delay isn't happening because you can see it live right there on our sensors. We are seeing a bit of a congestion building on some other major routes into the capital city this morning, particularly coming in from the US 1 north between Highway 64 and Highway 55 this morning. That's a situation where you're looking at a 3-minute delay. We're also seeing a bit of congestion building on I-40 eastbound this morning between Aviation Parkway and Harrison Avenue. So in terms of the drive times coming into the capital city, here's what we're looking at this morning. You're looking at a 13-minute delay there at US 1. You might want to take Highway 540 as an alternate route. It's a toll, but it'll get you around what's happening there on US 1. Just about a 7-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest this morning. In terms of the Bull City, that's that delay I've been telling you about on 85 North. You're looking at an 11-minute delay and just a 4-minute delay coming in from Chapel Hill this morning.
All right, thank you so much, Ken. The extreme cold is affecting Wake County schools this morning. It's a teacher workday for most, but schools that are in session are delayed 2 hours. Other school systems are canceling after-school activities and also events. That includes Cumberland, Nash, Sampson, and Wilson counties, and Johnston County events after 5 p.m.
Today, road and power teams are working to prepare you for this freezing weather that we're going to experience. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains customers are being alerted to the increased demand for power.
Crews here with Duke Energy will be working around the clock over these next couple of days. They're preparing for possible outages and higher usage. You may remember receiving this notice last night from Duke Energy, alerting customers about freezing temperatures this week and its impact on energy use. Let's show you some video now from back in December 2022. That's the last time we had a cold snap like this. You can see crews there working to restore power. Jeff Brooks from Duke Energy says customers should bump their thermostat down a few degrees this week. That will help save energy and lessen the strain on the power grid.
We typically see our peak usage in the early morning hours from about 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the winter. That's different than the summer when it's more in the evening. So even the style of usage changes in the winter, and that's something that we have to prepare for so that we can reliably meet those energy needs.
Our meteorologist team says although it will be cold tomorrow, the sun will still be shining. Duke Energy says that's the time to open up the blinds. Letting all of that sunshine in can help keep your house warm if you decide to turn down your thermostat a little bit. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And the state DOT is busy preparing roads around the triangle to try and keep them safe from ice. WRAL's Laura Levine is in Raleigh right now. Laura, they want drivers to take precautions ahead of this storm.
They do. Good morning, Michelle. And these DOT crews, these trucks have been on the roads for about 24 hours or so now, really salt brining the roads and racing the clock to prepare for that winter weather moving in. And we know that it could cause some really dangerous driving conditions. You may have already seen the brine out there on the roads traveling, especially in Wake and Durham counties. The DOT says crews started brining the roads Sunday night in these areas with a heavy focus on Interstates 40 and 540. But this storm is presenting some challenges to DOT crews that the last storm didn't. The frigid temperatures this week are something they're focused on because the brine will lower the freezing temperature of the road, and those temperatures are expected to hit some single digits with the wind chills, so they have to really be strategic in how they prep certain roads.
You want to be able to have interstate connectivity so that goods and resources can come into and out of the state. And then you look at connectivity on your main routes, which generally takes you to hospitals and to fire departments and to emergency stations, so that if people have issues, they can get resources out to them.
And McNeil says his crews are responsible for prepping I-40 in Durham, Franklin, and Wake counties all the way to the Johnston County border. Laura Levine, WRAL News. We're live in Raleigh.
And Governor Josh Stein will give an update this afternoon about how the state is preparing for this weather. He will join emergency management officials at the National Guard Armory in Greensboro at 3 p.m. You can watch their briefing live on WRAL.com. And you can count on WRAL to be on top of this Arctic blast and potential snow. Tune into our newscast from 4 to 7:30 this evening for the up-to-date forecast where you live.
Raleigh police are investigating a death in a shopping center off Wake Forest Road. Police tell WRAL they heard reports of gunshots being fired around 4:30 this morning. When they arrived, they found a person dead inside of a Subaru. You can see them searching the vehicle in the video that we had in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. Since then, that Subaru has been towed away, and we are working to learn what led to the shooting. The cold temperatures caused challenges for firefighters in Wake County. They were called to a home near Cary on Brookbridge Drive, and this was around 9:30-ish. A van and a carport were on fire, and the fire was out in about 25 minutes. The problem after that was cleaning up the ice that built up on the road. One firefighter was injured and treated at the scene. Investigators have not yet said, though, what caused the fire.
Happening this morning, the Johnston County School Board will hold a special meeting to talk about how to fill the seat vacated by Ronald Johnson, where Johnson was found guilty Friday of extortion and other crimes. Testimony in the trial included sexual affairs with Johnston County School employees and other accusations. A judge sentenced him to at least 6 months in jail. Johnson was also kicked off the school board. The board will meet at 8 o'clock this morning to discuss next steps.
Inauguration Day ended late last night with dining and dancing, too. President Trump and the First Lady shared a dance at the inaugural ball in Washington, D.C. It was one of 3 events that wrapped up a day filled with ceremonies. In remarks after the dance, Trump told the crowd it was a good decision to hold the inauguration inside, considering the cold weather.
President Trump signed several executive orders in his first hours back in the Oval Office. One of them that seeks to end birthright citizenship in the U.S. is already facing lawsuits. The American Civil Liberties Union, various state ACLU chapters, and several other groups filed the suit. It argues that President Trump's action violates the federal law and the U.S. Constitution. The groups are asking a federal court in New Hampshire to declare Trump's order unlawful and to block it.
Ohio State and Notre Dame squared off to crown a new college football national champion. After the Fighting Irish scored first, the Buckeyes put the next 31 points on the board last night. Notre Dame scored 16 points in the second half, but it was too late. Ohio State won the game 34-23. It's the first time the Buckeyes have won the national championship since 2014. And coming up in What's Trending, hear about the celebrity Ohio State fan whose on-screen presence wasn't liked by everyone.
Well, coming up, a carbon monoxide warning, why doctors say poisoning from this gas is more common this year.
And winter weather advisory in effect for parts of our viewing area. We're going to have snowfall tonight that could cause slick roads late tonight and into tomorrow. I'll show you the timeline and who's most affected.
Well, good morning, Lewisburg, as we're taking a live look outside. Got a little overcast in the skies there, but oh boy, you're waking up to a cold one today and tomorrow as well as you're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. Definitely the day you want to bundle up as you're going outside to begin your commute. We have Elizabeth Gardner here to talk to you about that winter weather advisory.
This is new this morning. The National Weather Service issued it for our eastern counties around 2:30 and around 4:15. They added a few more counties, including Wake County. In this particular zone, we could see as much as 1 to 2 inches of snow. North and west, it could be closer to a ½ inch. Of course, things could still happen. If this system ends up being slightly farther offshore, those numbers will go down. If it's slightly farther onshore, then it will be maybe a little bit heavier than that. The main thing to remember is it doesn't really matter how much you see. If you see any snow at all, it's going to stick to these very cold roads and cause some travel problems. Those travel problems will increase from Durham and Raleigh eastward as we go through the evening, and it's going to be real messy for us for tomorrow morning for sure. By 5 o'clock, we're seeing some snow in our eastern counties, and then by 6 or 7, it's spreading across the viewing area. It'll be a little lighter north and west, and of course a little heavier off to the east. It starts to taper off in the triangle around 11 or 12, and in our eastern counties around 2 or 3 a.m., and then we'll have some sunshine on Wednesday morning. So how much are we talking about? You know, up to maybe a ½ an inch around Roxborough, up to an inch in the triangle, up to 2 inches the farther south and east you go. Of course, Chris Michael is here to talk a little bit more about snowflake shapes and why they really matter, especially in this situation, Chris.
And it's kind of nice that we just get to talk about all snow instead of the sleet, the freezing rain, the whole 9 yards. But Elizabeth was just saying just how cold things have been. So we're talking about a very specific type of snowflake that's called a dendrite. You know, when you make the paper snowflakes, that's the kind of shape that you're making. So let's talk about kind of how that forms and why we care about it. So a lot of these crystals, they're shaped like a hexagon, right, with the 6 sides. As you get that colder air, you kind of get these little feathers, little edges to them. And you notice that there's dry pockets in between the snowflake just because of how cold the air is. Well, now you start to think of Tetris and how they just kind of collect onto each other as they fall from the cloud down to the ground. So it's a little easier for them to stack up a little bit, which is why we use different ratios when trying to calculate how much snow there's going to be. So this is a dry, powdery kind of snow, which means for every inch of liquid, there would be 15 inches of snow. We're talking about 1/10 of an inch of liquid. So this is very small, and that's why it's such a delicate forecast. But the good thing about this kind of snow is that it's easier to remove for those of you that see enough of it. The bad news, not exactly great for snowballs, but I think for anyone who wants a day off tomorrow, you're just rooting for any kind of snow. Going to be very cold as well, though, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's our other issue this morning. Cold weather advisory. It feels like around 8 to 11 degrees right now. It feels like 11 in Durham and Raleigh, 11 in South Hill, 8 in Southern Pines. Real cold start out there. Even this afternoon, the wind chill will make it feel like mid-20s to right around 30 degrees. Here comes that system. Watching that really get cranked up here in Houston, across parts of Louisiana, all the way up toward Atlanta, already moving into South Carolina. So it is moving fast. And check this out. There's a blizzard warning for parts of Texas and Louisiana. First time ever. I think Chris decided we should rename New Iberia, New Siberia, as they see just incredible conditions down there that they just never see. So from New Orleans through the Florida Panhandle up through Charleston and Wilmington, we could see up to 4 inches of snow, and that will spread in across our area. How much are we looking at? Potentially along the coast, right along the coast, up to 4 inches. Fayetteville, 1.5. Raleigh, maybe up to an inch, and our western counties, maybe up to a half an inch. It's not a lot of snow, but it's not going to take a lot of snow to cause slick conditions tonight. And parents, I would be prepared for schools to be delayed or canceled for tomorrow. Already, we're starting to see some cloud cover roll in across our area. Our temperatures this afternoon will be cold in the low 30s for afternoon highs, and we'll have another cold weather advisory in effect for tomorrow morning as well. So a couple of really cold, wintry days and a little warmer by Saturday and Sunday, Ken.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We want to start in northern Orange County this morning. This crash on Highway 70 near I-85 in the southbound lanes. Not causing any problems in that immediate area, but you can see the huge delays. It's congestion is building on I-85 in those northbound lanes. They're coming in off of Hillsborough this morning. You might want to take Highway 70 as an alternate route because right now we're not seeing any indications of anything on this camera of I-85 and Highway 70 in Orange County. You can see traffic is moving nicely through that interchange. So once you get past that slowdown on I-85 in those northbound lanes, it's clear sailing. Back here in Wake County, I-440 and Wake and westbound lanes near the Capitol Boulevard exit ramp southbound. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown there on I-440 proper, which is the usual congestion that you see this time of the morning. A little farther north on Capitol Boulevard near Gresham Lake Road, we're not seeing any delays in that area, but many of you might see some police activity if you're having to navigate that area. For those of you using I-540 as an alternate route this morning, you're just looking at a 3-minute delay starting on Capitol Boulevard and on Falls of News. Once you get past Creedmoor Road, it's clear sailing all the way to I-40 this morning. In terms of the drive times coming into the capital city, you're looking at a 5-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest. And in Durham this morning, that's the troubled spot right now. Those northbound lanes of I-85, you can see it take you about 7 minutes to get into the Bull City.
Today is President Trump's first full day in office, but he got to work right after yesterday's inauguration. He signed dozens of executive orders. The president issued pardons for about 1,500 defendants in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. He's also trying to delay a TikTok ban and limit the constitutional right to citizenship at birth. That last one there is already seeing some challenges from groups. He's also pulling our country out of the World Health Organization, as he did during his first administration. And he repealed dozens of former President Joe Biden's actions.
Revoked nearly 80 destructive and radical executive actions of the previous administration.
Trump also vowed to roll back former President Biden's climate policy and boost oil and gas production. He's also declaring a national emergency at the southern border. Trump is effectively shutting down asylum seeking there and promised the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. And again, some of those orders are likely to face legal challenges.
And Elon Musk will lead the incoming Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, alone. Sources tell NBC News that Vivek Ramaswamy, who was supposed to lead with Musk, will launch a campaign for governor of Ohio next week. The goal of DOGE is to slash government spending. That source says Ramaswamy is leaving on good terms with Trump and Musk, and that running the department is not compatible with his run for governor. And President Trump is criticizing former President Biden for issuing preemptive pardons with just minutes left in his term. While talking to reporters at the U.S. Capitol, Trump said he thinks the move is unfortunate. The pardons included General Mark Milley, Trump's chosen Joint Chiefs chairman and who later became a fierce critic. Milley's portrait hung in a Pentagon ceremony just last week was removed hours after Trump took office yesterday. Biden also issued pardons for Dr. Anthony Fauci, all the members of the January 6th committee, and members of his own family.
The freezing temperatures we're experiencing raises the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. Ted Lindner takes a look at how you can keep you and your loved ones safe this season.
With bitter cold sinking in across the country, even the South is preparing to shiver.
This morning it was 21 degrees and felt like 10.
With winter storm warnings issued Monday from Texas to Florida, the snow and freezing rain are expected to impact the region into Wednesday. Governors in Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama declared states of emergency, with a number of school systems also canceling classes Tuesday.
Each day we started adding more and more clothes.
But as the temperatures plunge, many people will be cranking up the heat, leading doctors to warn about the increased risks of carbon monoxide poisoning this time of year.
This is when people are turning on their heaters, and if there's been inappropriate maintenance or the heater is malfunctioning, you can have a carbon monoxide leak.
Carbon monoxide can be found in the vapor produced by furnaces, gas stoves, portable generators, and more. And with home heaters and fireplaces running for longer, especially while windows are closed, it could lead to a buildup of the potentially lethal gas indoors.
The reason is we can't detect it with any of our senses, meaning it's colorless, it's tasteless, and we can't smell it. The only way to detect it is with a carbon monoxide detector.
While the most common symptom of carbon monoxide poisoning is a headache,
there can also be more severe symptoms, such as chest pain or shortness of breath. People can even pass out or have syncope and even seizures.
But just having carbon monoxide detectors isn't enough. Doctors say you need to regularly check them to make sure they're working.
That was Ted Lindner reporting. Kids in New Jersey are enjoying sledding and the largest snowfall they have seen this season. Michelle is grinning so wide right now. The video you're seeing here is from the town of Neptune, about halfway between New York and Philadelphia. They got a couple of inches of snow there as well, and they're also under a cold weather advisory, but that is not stopping these kids from having a good time.
Oh, no, they know how to do it there. All right, well, preparing the roads here, how crews are working around the clock to ensure travel is as safe as possible ahead of the anticipated snowfall.
Plus, January 6th, rioter pardons and commutations. President Trump is releasing more than 1,500 people charged with crimes stemming with the Capitol attack. We'll explain how many are from our state.
Stay safe with the latest WRAL Weather Alert Day info. Get up to the minute weather and traffic conditions when you get in your car. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM, in Durham 96.5 FM, and everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We are tracking weather today. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking what could be a winter weather advisory for us.
Yeah, we have a winter weather advisory new this morning for a good bit of the viewing area. In the advisory area, we can see 1 to 2 inches. That 1 inch is going to be farther west. That 2 inches a little farther south and east. Remember, this storm is coming from the coast, spreading that moisture inland. North and west of Raleigh could be up to a half an inch. But no matter what falls, it's likely to stick to the roads and cause some real issues tonight and tomorrow for the morning commute. It starts to really get cranked up between 6 and 7 in the Triangle and tapers off around midnight, but it's likely to start a little earlier and end a little later in our eastern counties. We also have a cold weather advisory in effect this morning. Wind chills in the low teens to even some single digits out there. Right now it feels like 8 in Southern Pines, 11 in Raleigh, Durham, South Hill, and Rocky Mounts. It's cold out there. It'll only feel like mid-20s this afternoon. So this afternoon we're going to see starting as flurries getting slick after 7 o'clock out there. And of course, it'll be very slippery overnight and tomorrow morning. Ken?
Elizabeth, we're seeing some heavy congestion right now on I-40 eastbound near the I-40, I-85 interchange. In terms of the major routes coming into the capital city, you're looking at a 3-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest this morning. All the other routes are virtually delay-free. The only troubled spot really in Durham are those northbound lanes that I just told you about. You're looking at a 4-minute delay coming in from Hillsborough. I'll have an update at the bottom of the hour in your morning commute over on Fox 50.
State DOT crews are already working to prepare the roads as temperatures dip. Crews began salt brining interstates yesterday to prevent ice from forming. Duke Energy says they are preparing for increased usage this week as well. Coming up next on Fox 50, more on the snow we are expecting.
Today is a WRAL weather alert day for 2 reasons. A cold weather advisory this morning with temperatures feeling like teens, and a winter weather advisory for later on this evening. I'll show you when the snow could start where you are.
And we're going to talk about keeping you safe as we have team coverage of the preparations in place to keep the roads drivable and the power on as we face this Arctic blast.
And a shopping center shooting. What investigators are telling us about a Subaru they were investigating all morning.
Plus, back on the bus, students in Durham will once again have school bus service 5 days a week beginning today. We'll talk about other changes parents will want to know about this morning. And I think the biggest thing you want to know about today, do not leave your house without something warm on, even a base layer. It's cold outside. As you're joining us here on WRAL News, I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, you need multiple layers before you head out the door. Yes. But a lot of people also wondering about the snow. They want to know how much we're going to get, who's going to get it, who's not going to get it. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner standing by to tell us just that.
Winter weather advisory in effect from, say, Wake County all the way down to the east toward Clinton. And the closer you are to the coast, the more snow you may see. Still, overall, we're not looking at at a lot of snow, but it's been very cold. And so whatever falls is likely to stick to the roads and cause some really slippery conditions. We're looking at maybe up to an inch of snow in Raleigh, over toward Clinton and Goldsboro, could be up to 2 inches. Back to the west, maybe up to a half an inch. But even where we have a half an inch of snow, it could be pretty messy out there. We start to see some wintry precipitation along the coast around mid-afternoon, around 5 o'clock in our eastern counties, and then between 6 and 7 spreading across the rest of our viewing area. Likely to taper off in the triangle closer to midnight and in our eastern counties around 2 or 3 a.m. So that's where we'll have a little bit more of that snow starting to pile up. So how much will we see? Again, maybe a half an inch around Roxborough, could be up to an inch around Raleigh, and maybe up to 2 inches around Clinton and Goldsboro, possibly up to 3 or 4 along the coast, but there may be some sleet that mixes in. It's very cold this morning. We have a cold weather advisory in effect. It feels like single digits to low teens as you're heading out the door this morning. Right now, 8 in Southern Pines, 11 in Roxborough, Durham, Raleigh, 11 in Rocky Mount. So that's what it feels like when you step out. And this afternoon, it just stays chilly with a little breeze and cold temperatures. Our high will only be around 32, and it'll feel more like mid to upper 20s. We'll see increasing clouds and, of course, start to see that snow moving in. So this evening between 4 and 8, we'll start to see some flurries, but getting slick by around 7 o'clock. So just make sure that you are at home prepared by that point. Between 8 and 2 a.m., it is sticking and it is very slippery, especially along and east of US 1. And then tomorrow morning, also looking very slippery. Do expect there to be some delays and some closures, potentially with schools. Ken?
Elizabeth, staying on top of that crash in northern Orange County this morning is really what we're looking at on Highway 70 near the I-85 southbound lanes. We can see the huge congestion is building right there on Highway 70 proper, also on I-85 as well. Even though you're coming into the capital city this morning, you might want to use Highway 70 as an alternate route because of what's happening there on I-85 and I-70. Because right now you look at this I-85, Highway 70 camera, traffic is actually flowing nicely in both directions. So once you get past that crash site right there, you should be clear sailing in and out of the capital city this morning. A couple of other instances we want to bring your attention to. This crash on Wade Avenue, Canterbury Road, right there in West Raleigh, not causing any issues for you this morning, but just watch for that police activity. There's a crash on I-440 westbound near the Capitol entrance southbound ramp. This is the usual slowdown that we see coming off of I-40 westbound onto Capitol Boulevard this morning, so that's nothing to worry about. That goes in and out. In terms of the major routes coming into the capital city, just looking at a 4-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest this morning. Over in Bull City, just about a 4-minute delay coming in from Hillsborough in those 85 lanes.
The extreme cold is affecting Wake County schools this morning. It's a teacher workday for most, but schools that are in session are delayed 2 hours. Other school systems are canceling after-school activities and events, and that includes Cumberland, Nash, Sampson, Wilson, and Johnston County events after 5 p.m.
Road and power crews are getting ready for the arrival of this freezing weather. The state DOT is busy preparing roads around the triangle to try to keep them safe from ice. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us live from Raleigh this morning. Laura, they want drivers to take precautions ahead of this snow. It could get really slippery out there.
Michelle, good morning. It really could. And that's exactly why DOT crews since this weekend have been really racing the clock and laying down some of that salt brine to prepare for this winter weather. You've probably already seen it on the roads, especially yesterday on those major highways. DOT crews that say that they've had a heavy focus in Wake and Durham counties on interstates 40 and 540. But this storm is presenting some challenges to DOT crews that the last storm didn't. The frigid temperatures this week are something they're focused on because the brine will lower the freezing temperature of the road. So they say that they've had to be strategic in how they prep certain areas.
In particular concern is the cold temperatures coming in afterwards, or in advance and afterwards. So having a little protection out there on the roads in case it slides a little further west than currently forecast, we'll be prepared and put our best foot forward when we start this.
And Doug McNeil there with the DOT, he says that his crews are responsible for prepping I-40 in Durham, Franklin, and Wake counties all the way to the Johnston County border. So we also know this is impacting local schools. Wake County Public Schools is on a 2-hour delay, as you mentioned earlier. They want to allow some time for staff to assess school buildings to make sure it is safe for students to go today. Laura Levine, WRAL News. We're live in Raleigh.
And today, road and power teams are working to prepare you for this freezing weather. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains customers are being alerted about the increased demand for power.
Crews here with Duke Energy will be working around the clock over these next couple of days. They're preparing for possible outages and higher usage. You may remember receiving this notice last night from Duke Energy, alerting customers about freezing temperatures this week and its impact on energy use. Let's show you some video now from back in December 2022. That's the last time we had a cold snap like this. You can see crews there working to restore power. Jeff Brooks from Duke Energy says customers should bump their thermostat down a few degrees this week. That will help save energy and lessen the strain on the power grid.
We typically see our peak usage in the early morning hours from about 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the winter. That's different than the summer when it's more in the evening. So even the style of usage changes in the winter, and that's something that we have to prepare for so that we can reliably meet those energy needs.
Our meteorologist team says although it will be cold tomorrow, the sun will still be shining. Duke Energy says that's the time to open up the blinds. Letting all of that sunshine in can help keep your house warm if you decide to turn down your thermostat a little bit. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Governor Josh Stein will give an update this afternoon about how the state is preparing for this winter weather. He'll join emergency management officials at the National Guard Armory in Greensboro at 3 p.m. You can watch their briefing live on WRAL.com. And in Houston, Texas, all major airports and schools are closed today as the winter storm moves across that state. Starting at midnight, all flights at George Bush International Airport and Hobby Airport were suspended. Some areas could see up to 4 inches of snow, but ice. That's the real concern. It could cause widespread power outages and dangerous road conditions.
Also, Michelle, I-10 leads right out of Houston and it heads east and west. If you take it east towards Louisiana, they are experiencing their first ever on the coast blizzard warning. I pulled up the Department of Transportation map here. I want to show you Lake Charles here. Right along I-10 there has 19 cameras in play here. I just want to pull up. Look at that. It looks like Minnesota, doesn't it? I mean, that is in Louisiana. I-10, if you follow it all the way along here, they're talking about visibility down to a quarter of a mile. That is just a horrible look right there. But I want to take you all the way over now. If you just widen this map out just a little bit and take us all the way over to New Orleans right there. That is right along their belt line around New Orleans. I'm going to show you potentially a couple of cameras that are right there. That's New Orleans. Amazing. And show you Bourbon Street as well. We have some video I can show you as that blizzard warning is just taking a toll all across Louisiana, parts of Texas. Could see up to 8 inches of snow in there. You see a couple of tracks of people walking across the street there. But this is just so unusual for that part. And anybody near the coast there, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Louisiana, the blizzard warnings out first ever for them in those areas.
Unusual. My goodness. All right. Thanks, Jeff. And we have some breaking news. Edgecombe County Schools is closing 2 hours early today because of winter weather here. To receive this breaking update and updates like it, download the WRAL News app. Turn on alerts to get notified in your area. It is free wherever you download your apps.
Raleigh police are investigating a death in a shopping center off Wake Forest Road. Police tell WRAL they heard reports of gunfire at around 4:30 this morning. When they arrived, they found a person dead inside a Subaru. You can see them searching inside the vehicle when we were on scene. And WRAL is working to learn what led up to that shooting.
Starting today, families in Durham will once again have a school bus service 5 days a week. Durham Public Schools have only been running bus routes 4 days a week since early December, and that's because of a shortage of bus drivers. The school system says employees who hold commercial driver's licenses are filling the gaps. Today also marks the start of what are called family responsibility zones. Those are areas surrounding 21 elementary schools where no buses will run. Families in those areas will need to get their kids to school themselves. And Durham Public Schools is working today to fill some of its bus driver positions. It's hosting a career fair from 5 to 6:30 tonight at the Mini Fort Brown Staff Development Center. In addition to bus drivers, the school system is looking to hire community educational staff, instructional assistants, and also maintenance technicians. And new this morning, the Taliban released 2 American citizens as part of a prisoner exchange. The family of Ryan Corbett says that he is one of the Americans who was released. In a statement, they say their hearts are filled with overwhelming gratitude. They also thank President Donald Trump and former President Biden for their efforts to bring him home. The Taliban says the exchange was for Khan Muhammad, who has been serving a life sentence in a California prison.
Covering Wake County this morning, today we'll get an update about how the school system plans to adjust its budget to close a funding gap. The school system is facing unexpected costs as well as higher than expected enrollment, and this is forcing it to spread money a little thinner than usual. It also is dealing with a deficit in school meals, which is complicated by the loss of pandemic stimulus funding. The school board will meet tonight at 5:30.
Well, just ahead, a shooting at a North Carolina park. Why officers say they shot and killed a man leaving an officer on administrative leave.
Plus, traveling abroad, the new requirements you need to know about before you book your trip to Europe.
And let's take you live out to Southern Pines this morning. A rare snowstorm targets the Gulf Coast today. Coming up next, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tells us which parts of our area are under a winter weather advisory. Welcome back. Good morning to Fayetteville. This is a live look there right now. Look at the clouds. Looks a little ominous there. It looks a little scary, but you know, we are all eyes on the weather because of the incoming snow. The coast really is what's going to see the major bulk of the snow here. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, though, we all have that winter weather advisory. Most of us anyway have that.
Yeah, exactly. So what you don't see down here along the coast is a winter storm warning where they could see, you know, some wintry mix there, some significant snowfall. But what we'll see is potentially 1 to 2 inches in our winter weather advisory area. And then north and west of that, we can see maybe up to a half an inch. This has been a very changing kind of system, which is pretty typical for wintry weather around here. If it happens to bobble a little farther west, some of those totals could go up a little bit. If it bobbles a little farther east, then folks will see less snow. It's not going to take a whole lot of snow that'll cause problems. We're likely to see this, you know, starting right after the evening commute around dinner time. And it's been so cold that whatever falls is going to stick to the roads and the bridges and make for some slippery conditions. If parents, you might want to think about what could happen tomorrow if there is no school. This is Futurecast at 3 o'clock. Some wintry mix along the coast by 5 o'clock. Some snow in our eastern counties. And between 6 and 7, it starts to develop across our region. Beginning to taper off around Durham and Raleigh closer to midnight, and then moving out around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in our eastern counties. Checking our hour-by-hour snow chances. Maybe a few flurries around 5 or 6. It starts to pick up a little bit by 7 o'clock or so, and then beginning to diminish closer to midnight. Taking a look at our potential from the European, the blue shaded area is going to be maybe up to 3 or 4 inches of snow, but there may be some lower totals due to some sleet that we could see. 1.5 inches Fayetteville, a little under 1 inch in Raleigh, about 1/2 inch in some of our northwestern counties. But again, that's putting a number on something that, you know, isn't necessarily going to be so precise this time. Around 1/2 inch north and west, maybe around 1 inch in the triangle, maybe closer to 2 inches as you're closer to, say, Clinton down there. Also, this morning, cold weather advisory for wind chills in the single digits and teens. It feels like 8 in Southern Pines and 11 in Durham, Raleigh, South Hill, Rocky Mount, Wilson. This afternoon, it'll feel like mid to upper 20s. We'll see a high around freezing. Already gray skies here in downtown Raleigh as the system gets closer to us. 21 is our actual temperature, so it's a pretty hefty wind chill out there right now. We also, of course, are watching the chance for some slick roads. So starting in flurries between, say, 4 and 5 o'clock, becoming slick by 7 or 8 o'clock, depending on where you are. Overnight, the roads will be slick as we see some accumulation. And then tomorrow morning, again, I would expect that we would have cancellations, slippery roads. It's even though not a whole lot of snow, it's likely to cause some pretty messy conditions. Tomorrow morning, we're back under that cold weather advisory with wind chills into the single digits. So Arctic blast sticks around for a couple days.
Elizabeth. Police say a man is dead after raising a gun at officers at ECU's North Recreational Complex. The Greenville officer who shot and killed the man is on administrative leave this morning. This happened at 4:30 yesterday afternoon, about 4 miles from the school's main campus. A concerned family member called police about a man who had a gun and was threatening to harm himself. Leo Brown says he was playing disc golf with friends when he noticed the man.
I say hey to him. He didn't respond. He just shook his head. And then we kept continuing playing. And then we realized the cops were coming our way. We thought we were getting kicked out of the park. But turned out they went up to that guy in the hut and they started questioning the guy.
Officials say the man raised a gun at officers. That's when an officer shot and killed him.
Here in The WRAL Live Center have an update to a story we've been following throughout the morning with some jarring photos from a terrible hotel fire in Turkey. This is northwestern Turkey. I want to show you these flames coming out of the roof right there. It's a 12-story hotel there. More than 230 guests were there. They sent at least 30 fire trucks to this site, 28 ambulances there. People were jumping out of the windows to try to get away from the flames in this fire. I have some video that I want to show you here as well of that scene there. It's built into the face of a rock wall. It makes it very difficult to get those flames out. They were saying folks didn't find fire extinguishers in the nearby area there. It took ambulances and fire trucks a while to get there, but 66 people have died out of this. 51 people were injured, and you can see those flames just tearing through that building. This is northwestern Turkey, and school is out there on holiday there, and this is a popular ski resort for folks to go on vacation when school is out. They don't go back until February.
Gosh, that is just so sad. All right, thanks, Jeff. President Donald Trump proclaimed that the U.S. government will recognize only two sexes, male and female. The order would require the federal government to use the term sex instead of gender. This could impact the terminology on passports and visas. In the same executive order, Trump ended diversity, equity, and inclusion programs inside federal agencies. He called the programs radical and wasteful. White House officials grew both of these orders as they quote, restoring sanity agenda.
This morning, Marco Rubio will be sworn in as Secretary of State. The Senate voted to confirm him last night. Rubio, as you know, is the former Republican senator from Florida, and he becomes the first cabinet official for the new Trump administration to be Senate approved. Actually, Rubio's nomination to become Secretary of State was overwhelmingly bipartisan. He called it a, quote, great honor to be confirmed by his former colleagues.
Confirmation proceedings for two of President Trump's key cabinet nominees are moving to the full Senate. The Senate Armed Services Committee voted along party lines to advance Pete Hegseth's nomination as Secretary of Defense. The Intelligence Committee also voted to advance John Ratcliffe's nomination as CIA Director. It is unclear when the full Senate will vote on confirming either nominee.
A U.S. Border Patrol agent is dead because of a shootout near the Canadian border in Vermont. The FBI says the shootout happened on Interstate 91, about 20 miles from the border. A suspect was also killed in the shooting, and a second suspect was injured and taken into custody. But the FBI has not released any additional details about what happened. It also says there is no ongoing threat to the public.
Thousands of Costco workers across the country are cleared to go on strike. The union, representing about 18,000 Costco employees, voted to authorize the strike. Costco is entering its final rounds of contract negotiations with those workers before a January 31st deadline. The Teamsters Union claims Costco is not negotiating with them constructively. The strike would start February 1st if an agreement is not reached.
If you're planning a trip to Europe soon, you're going to want to know about a new visa requirement. Americans traveling for less than 6 months to or through the United Kingdom will now need what's called an electronic travel authorization. You can apply through the UK government website or app to access this, but you'll need to upload a photo of your passport and a photo of yourself. You'll also need to answer various questions about your trip. It really only takes about 20 minutes to complete and about 3 days to be approved.
You have 2 more days to drop off items for the Kids Exchange consignment sale. Parents can drop off top quality, gently worn kids' clothing, toys, shoes, baby equipment, furniture, and more. Drop off items at the Jim Graham Building at the NC State Fairgrounds from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. today and 9 a.m. to 11 tomorrow morning. The public sale starts on Friday and it goes through Sunday. Admission is free.
Turns out Taylor Swift is not the only celebrity who gets shown on TV repeatedly during football games. LeBron James was in the house for Ohio State's national championship win last night. ESPN showed him repeatedly as he cheered for the Buckeyes. And, well, this prompted some viewers to say that LeBron is the new Taylor Swift. Not like, you know, he has any ties to Ohio or anything why he would be there and be a fan. People just like to complain. But hey, before we go to break, here are the winning lottery numbers for you, and we'll get another check on weather and traffic in just a bit.